Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, all these organizations which are not defined in our Constitution. Well, I've basically given up on third parties myself. I mean, they basically have all been bought up in the same way that, companies and local politicians have been bought up as well. But I would, to talk about the Gaza part, I mean, there's protests going on at Columbia University. But what I found really, I felt strongly that if you're talking about what's going on in Gaza, and you're not talking about 9/11, which Israel was intimately related with, and you're not talking about COVID-19 operation, which Israel was also intimately related with, you cannot just talk about Gaza. It's part of a larger criminal syndicate, which Israel is being used as a battering ram, but it's not Israel.
I would say one time you use the word Israel equals Rothschild.
One thing I want to also just...
Israel is a creation of the Rothschild.
Instead of looking at the people that are dying and suffering over there and starving,
yes,
we're focusing on, the professor went to the ground saying, I'm a professor, and the cops took me to the ground. Like, why are we talking about people that are actually suffering and struggling instead of, and what's in college kids to do whatever they want to do?
Right.
Like, we're focusing on that instead of the actual victims of war being silenced to promote illnesses. Just to play about this.
Please.
I completely get where you're coming from, but just to play devil's advocate, I think there is a legitimate kind of question or thing to be said for the gradual erosion of our civil rights and civil liberties that we're seeing in real time. So I think that the fact that this is all happening, all this discourse around our right to protest, our right to assembly, our right to free speech, I think that this is a really critical point.
And so that our culture is young, and now they're doing those things in the U.S., but don't get to hear from us.
Right.
You get to hear about how they suppressed our protests. Oh, no. You're going to hear from, Professor Sharp. That's how I feel. I'm sorry. Yeah?
No, I appreciate it.
Sir. But that I think is, at the end of the day, all have one enemy, one foes.
Right.
So what the United Nations itself, it's also corrupt. That's the one that...
My question for the both of you is, first you mentioned the United Nations. Do you think it's providing a beneficial service to Africa or any specific countries in Africa? Do you think it's providing useful services or not?
It's not providing any useful service. The United Nations was used to corrupt all the freaking countries.
It's not, that's true.
To create chaos and crisis in Africa.
So what is it?
I want to make a statement on this, on the issue of global governance, and that is to say, if you look at the process from the Hague conferences from the 1890s up till 1914, from the League of Nations and from the beginning of the United Nations through the 1980s even, that there was, I feel, a positive contribution to the effort to establish norms for global governance in terms of norms for prohibiting certain kinds of weapons, making certain processes for peace building. So I'm not one of the people who's categorically say, United Nations is evil, or that that we should just go back to the nation state. And part of the problem which has emerged, sadly, is that because with the George W. Bush administration, all these parasites and criminals latched on to George W. Bush, and his position was to say, the United States doesn't have to listen to any global norms. We're just free to do whatever we feel like. And so that led to an empowerment of global organizations to some degrees in response to the criminality of the George W. Bush administration. And so what did the parasites do? They latched onto the global organizations because that was where they saw the potential for power. And that led to what we're seeing now with the pandemic treaty, which is this attempt to corrupt global institutions, which had some possible meaning. I'm not totally against global governance, but they have been so corrupted and so sort of weaponized. That it has to be from the ground up. Please.
All right. So, as a presidential candidate, the cliches are supposed to be the great unifier. So, how would you be a great unifier and to galvanize people against one cause? So these people are programmed to a team sport thing.
Right.
Your strategy me is asking strategic food damage or red or what would your strategy be to, for example, unify the Green Party and rehabilitate that so people have a common goal, like a team effort, and
Right.
red versus blue versus green. How would you be a great unifier?
Right.
Spark the Green Party and unify people together.
So there are different kinds of politics, and it's probably obvious to everybody. I don't fall into the category of professional politician. Some people do it for fun and profit, and certainly didn't profit me. And it was sometimes interesting and amusing, but I wouldn't say it was fun.
Sounds like George Santos' career.
Is that, well,
Amusing, but not necessarily.
yeah, well, so anyways, to come back to this issue of being a great unifier, I would say that I'm not really that interested in being a great unifier and being a sort of milquetoast, everyone is together, we're all, on the same page, because this is inherently dishonest. But to be a unifier in the sense that we are going to take a position that we're going to understand what's happening in the world and in the United States in a scientific and historical context accurately, as best as we can, and recognize the truth and start with a small group. This group is more than enough. A small group of people who are committed to truth and justice, not in the sort of banal way that it's often used in American politics today, and that we should build up from that. So I, as opposed to say Robert Kennedy, who is trying to engage with Trump and people and progressives and all sorts of other groups, that's not me. I'm not good at it. I'm not interested in it. I would much prefer to just take a position to say this is the truth, and and move up and build up from there. So the three truths, which is in my book explicitly, is the 9/11 incident, the true nature of the 9/11 incident, and all the participants therein, which is like murder on the Orient Express. I mean, everyone got a stab. And then the COVID-19 operation, the true nature of that, and how it was related to both multinational corporations, governments around the world, and militaries around the world. And then the third is the Federal Reserve, the process by which trillions and trillions of dollars have been stolen from us. It's hard to say, combining quantitative easing, buybacks for the stock market, for intervention by the Treasury Department, and of course, in addition to that, the COVID relief. But it's a reality that these three are these three elements are what has profoundly corrupted almost unrecoverably corrupted our republic.